The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday night here on Armed Radio. You are listening to Two Beards Talking. I am Daniel Sanders.
And I'm DonnieJ.
And as we always do at the start of every show, we want to give a big shout out to the men and women serving our country, deployed overseas and on the home front. We appreciate everything you guys and gals are doing. Come home safe. Keep up the good work when we're all rooting for you back home. And since it is that time of the year, a very, very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa.
Mele Kalikimaka.
Yeah.
Yes.
Feliz Navidad.
All of that, yes. Merry Christmas.
Hanukkah. That's the one I was forgetting. Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. Yes.
Happy Hanukkah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. We don't want to
offend anyone.
Yep. Or make anyone feel like they're being left out. So, got a lot to talk about this week. A lot's been going on.
We'll start out with the Army-Navy game.
Yes.
Go Navy.
Midshipman.
Yes. Broke a 3-year losing streak. We lost the last 3 games to Army. We broke it, and it was really cool because this was the last game for the seniors, and they were getting ready to go out without ever having beaten Army.
Yes.
So it was really good that they pulled that one off and did it in style and looked phenomenal out there.
Absolutely.
Their quarterback he was awesome. He rushed for like 300 something yards.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Malcolm Perry he was phenomenal. He really was. And to watch him on the field, he did such an exceptional job against Army. It's kind of sad to think that's going to be his last game because he really doesn't have the size to make it in the NFL, I don't think. Of course, stranger things have happened, but what a way to go out your last game as a midshipman.
Yeah. Now,
well, not the last game. They've got a bowl game coming up. Navy has a bowl game. Army does not. I'm going to be watching the bowl games this year.
You said he wouldn't really make it. I'm curious about that because it's my understanding if you're going to a military academy such as West Point or Annapolis, you're going there with the intention of joining the military.
Well, they've changed the requirements. Now, back in the day of Roger Staubach, when he was a quarterback for Navy, when David Robinson played for the NBA, and he also was a midshipman at Annapolis, they had to serve their commitment, 6 years, I believe it is, after they graduate from the academy. But it could be suspended. It could be done as reserve duty, as both Staubach and Robinson did. Both did. They were both reserves, Navy Reserve. I believe Staubach actually achieved the rank of admiral. I could be wrong. I know he was captain, but I think he might have, right before he retired from the reserves, made admiral. David Robinson, I'm not really sure what his rank was, but I do know they called him the admiral. It was his nickname in the NBA. But both of them had to serve their commitments. Today, if you opt to go in the NFL, they release you from your commitments. I found this out just the other day.
Really?
Yes. If you were drafted by the NBA, by the NFL, they will release you from your commitment to. But very few do. The ones that do don't. They'll keep their commitment. Very few would say, okay, I'm not going to serve my country because you spend 4 years at those academies. It's ingrained in you, and they don't do it. David Robinson. The funny thing about David Robinson, he's so tall. Can you see somebody that's almost 7 feet tall trying to get navigate on a ship? If you've ever been on a Navy ship, it's just
all the knee knockers and
climbing the ladder
or maybe for him they'd be ankle knockers. I don't know.
and someone like him, what's he going to do? Is he going to be a pilot? You can't fit in a cockpit. There's very few things that you can do when you're that tall. He's just a giant of a man. Be that as it may, he still successfully and honorably fulfilled his commitment.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that too. Talking about pilots, my second deployment in Iraq, we had an air officer that was attached to our unit, and his call sign was Big, because he was a big guy. Also because his last name was Johnson.
Oh man.
I
was wondering where you were going with that, and there we go.
It was perfect too, because when we first got in country, he was a captain.
Mm-hmm.
He got promoted while we were in country.
No.
Yes. Major Big Johnson.
And Major Big Johnson, if you're listening out there, we salute you.
Yes. Well, actually, no, I think he's a lieutenant colonel now. I think my buddy was telling me he ran into him the other day, and I think he said he's a lieutenant colonel now. So, that's kind of lost its luster.
Lieutenant Colonel Big Johnson.
Yes.
There's a lot we could run with that, but we won't.
Yeah.
We have things to get into this week.
Yeah, but no, talking about the Army-Navy game, there's an investigation going on right now.
Okay, who comes up with this shit? I'm serious. When did okay? I'm doing okay. How you doing? I'm okay. When did that become a white supremacist symbol? Who makes this shit up? I mean, really?
Stupid people?
Yeah. And then what's up with the midshipman flashing? If that is what that is, what's the deal? What were they doing there?
Well, first and foremost, okay. So the setting is Reese Davis, ESPN broadcaster, is sitting amongst a crowd of cadets and midshipmen.
I saw it, yeah.
And I'm sitting here looking at the picture right now. It's actually one of the West Point cadets standing directly behind Reese Davis, holds up the little upside-down OK symbol, otherwise known as the circle game.
Jesus.
Made you look.
Made you look, yeah.
Now I get to slug you in the arm.
Right.
And at some point, somewhere along the way, it has gone from – I actually have this article from the New York Times, and the headline of the article, when the OK sign is no longer okay. Here is how a hand gesture long seen as innocuous has taken on connotations of racism and right-wing trolling culture.
Jesus. Really?
Well, I mean, this is the New York Times.
Really? I mean, come on. Again, I asked the question, who makes this shit up? Who decides that all of a sudden, as it just said, an innocuous, okay symbol becomes something.
Or something as, harmless as, well, I won't say harmless because I have seen people get punched in the face from playing this game.
Yes.
But, a game that I've been playing since I was in, 6th grade.
But not anymore, because if you do, you're racist.
Oh, no, I still play it.
Well, we fear no political correctness.
Absolutely. What is political correctness?
But what's going on now with the investigation? I mean...
Well, because it was done on air, and it was a nationwide broadcast.
To bring shame and dishonor to the United States Military Academy.
Yes. It says officials at West Point and Annapolis. First and foremost, I don't know why Annapolis, because it was a West Point cadet that could... Fuck you, Army, for getting us in trouble.
You can dress them up, but you just can't take them out.
You can't.
You got to leave them in the barracks. You can't.
It says officials at West Point and Annapolis are investigating whether cadets and midshipmen who made the sign with their hands during television coverage of the Army-Navy football game on Saturday were doing so to express racist sentiments. Fuck the guy that graduated from West Point that as soon as he graduated took his damn blouse off and was showing his Che Guevara t-shirt he was wearing.
Che Guevara.
Yes.
Nice.
Did you not hear about that?
I think I read something about it somewhere.
That is our leadership.
But here's the thing. But why make this such a big deal? Why make this such a cause? What's the big deal?
I don't know. So the New York Times, they go on. It says, where did the sign come from? The widely understood modern use of the gesture for approval or assent seems to have arisen along with the term "okay" in the 19th century. Some researchers have traced the word to 1839 when Charles Gordon Green wrote jokingly in the Boston Morning Post about it being an intentionally misspelled abbreviation for all correct. The term caught on, and the hand gesture with the fingers forming something vaguely like an O and a K became closely linked with it.
Okay.
Okay.
All I can say is okay. Okay.
Now it says here, how did it become connected to white power? It started in early 2017 as a hoax. Some users of 4chan, an anonymous and unrestricted online message board, began what they called Operation O-KKK to see if they could trick the wider world, and especially liberals in the mainstream media, into believing that the innocuous gesture was actually a clandestine symbol of white power. Well, fucking mission accomplished.
You know, and this is just another example of things going way too far.
And it says here, this is a quote. Doesn't say where they got the quote from, but I'm assuming 4chan. We must flood Twitter and other social media websites with spam claiming that the OK hand signal is a symbol of white supremacy, one of the users posted, going on to suggest that everyone involved create fake social media accounts with, quote, basic white girl names to propagate the notion that as widely as possible.
Okay, so then that right there should end everything. There should be no investigation. Nobody should say anything about it. It shouldn't be given any credence whatsoever because they've already stated that it's a hoax. So it doesn't really, if you're saying it's a hoax, it doesn't really mean white supremacy. That's a crock of shit. I'm calling BS on it. That's all.
I agree. And it goes on to say the 4chan hoax succeeded all too well and ceased being a hoax. Neo-Nazis, Ku Klux Klansmen, and other white nationalists began using the gesture in public to signal their presence and to spot potential sympathizers and recruits. For them, the letters formed by the hand were not OK, but W and P for white power.
You know, you can read anything into anything. If you stare at something long enough, if you look for something long enough, you're going to find it. If what was it? It's a misquote, but Joseph Goebbels. If you tell a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. Well, I mean, if you propagate something like this long enough, I guess it really takes on the meaning that you started out being a hoax. I still think it's a crock, and again, as you just said, thanks Army for screwing up the Army-Navy game and having some controversy afterwards. But what do you expect? It's Army. I'm just kidding.
Now it also asks, where else has the gesture surfaced? A number of high-profile figures on the far right have helped spread the gesture's racist connotation by flashing it conspicuously in public, including Milo Yiannopoulos, an outspoken former Breitbart editor, and Richard B. Spencer, one of the promoters of the White Power rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017 that resulted in the death of a 32-year-old woman.
Okay, let's move on.
I mean, first, okay.
Okay, we're not moving on.
well, no. I'm going to wrap it up with this.
All right.
If there's any hint, because I know for a fact, since this has been going on, every branch of service in the military has been killing their troops with death by PowerPoint. Pretty much like in the Marine Corps, death by PowerPoint. What the fuck, Marines? That's how it is. Now it's considered a racist hand signal. Don't do it. I'm sure they're doing that at Annapolis and West Point, too. Well, at least I would hope so.
Probably in the field, and probably at different commands, various commands around the country, around the world, actually. And that somebody has done something, has come up with something so turn something innocuous into this is everybody's now we're having to deal with it. Now it's become a thing. Yeah. And now we got to get rid of it.
Yeah, just the simple fact that we even have to give a class to our future leadership on this crap is ridiculous.
Flipping somebody the bird is less offensive than doing the OK symbol. Think about that for a second. Flipping somebody off is less offensive.
Why are you flipping me off? I'm offended.
I don't know. because you're easily offended. No, but I mean, doing that is think about it. If the guy had done that, he would be in less trouble than the OK symbol because he's just telling somebody to fuck off as opposed to declaring white supremacy. This is ridiculous, and it's an OK symbol.
It is, yeah.
But let's move on from this. We got things to talk about here.
We do. So I'll leave it with this, plain and simple. Just don't fucking do it. Don't give them reason. Just don't do it.
Don't give them reason or satisfaction. Just let it go. Just don't.
Yeah.
But kids will be kids, and you got to. Although they are cadets and midshipmen, they're still kids.
They are.
They're kids. Anyway, this coming week, actually, a couple of days from now, on Wednesday, articles of impeachment are going to be presented, delivered. President Donald John Trump is going to officially be impeached. And I don't know how many of you have been following the impeachment inquiry and the testimonies and all of the brouhaha, if you will, that's going on. But they finally have, and there's some funny things going on here too. But they finally have boiled everything down to the articles of impeachment, and the main thing is abuse of power, and a lot of people. That's one of the two main articles of impeachment: abuse of power. And if you look at the articles of impeachment, they were printed in the New York Times. It's the case is on paper. On paper, it looks good, and if you look at the law, if you look at the Constitution, everything is there. You can make a case that the man should be impeached. And 49%, some polls say 49%, and some say 51% of the country, of all registered voters, not just Democrats, not just independents, but Republicans too, anywhere from 49 to 51% of the country is in favor of impeaching and removing the president from office.
See,
that said, the chances of it actually happening are pretty much slim and none, which we'll get into in just a moment.
See, I'm curious. I want to know who conducts these polls and where they conduct them at.
Well, there are the scientific polls, there are the unbiased, nonpartisan polls, and then there's the CNN poll, and then there's the Fox News poll. Now, you can take Fox for what it's worth, you can take CNN for what it's worth, because
they're both full of shit.
Exactly, and they're going to fall on one side or the other. One side's going to be liberal, one side's going to be conservative. All right, but there are different polls that come out, and they are unbiased, and they just take a poll, and they poll Democrats, Republicans, independents, registered voters, that sort of thing, and they do this, and it really is an unbiased sampling of how the public feels on any given subject, whether it's electing somebody or impeaching somebody. In this case, different polls say 49 to 51% favor removing the president from office. He's definitely going to get impeached.
Yes.
That's a given. That's coming this Wednesday. And the trial probably is going to kick off somewhere around January the 6th. Democrats are looking to get 4 major witnesses they want to bring in. They want to bring in acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney because, well, Mick went on TV and just basically ran his mouth and said, so I think there's a quid pro quo. We don't care. Okay, and that he's still his title is still acting White House Chief of Staff. He hasn't been given the position permanently, and he's probably not going to after his little blow up on TV. They also bring in former National Security Advisor John Bolton. There's a man that never met a war he didn't like. Mulvaney's senior advisor Robert Blair and Associate Director for National Security at OMB Michael Duffy. They've got direct knowledge, or so the Democrats say, of his discussions with the Ukraine about political investigations and the military aid, which he held up, in the quid pro quo. They were all 4 called to testify as part of the House inquiry, and they all declined to show up because they were told not to show up, which brings us to the other article of impeachment, obstruction of Congress. Now, you go back to the Clintons, to the Clinton impeachment. One of the witnesses in the Clinton impeachment refused to testify, and her name was Susan McDougal. Now, Susan McDougal got 18 months for contempt of Congress for refusing to testify. She sat in prison for 18 months. For doing exactly what President Trump has ordered Mulvaney, Bolton, Duffy, and Blair. He ordered them not to go, told him not to go. He's told others not to go. Don't testify. He's ordered them not to go. Now, nothing's happened to them. They simply ignored the subpoena. They simply refused to testify. They didn't get put in prison, but McDougal did for doing the exact same thing that President Trump has ordered these people to do. Now, by ordering them to do this, by ordering them not to testify, he's obstructing Congress, which is the second article of impeachment. Only 2 articles, abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Well, this is going to come to a head, of course, in the Senate, and with 67 votes is what's required to remove him, and they don't have it. They just don't have it. There's just not enough votes in there. So even when it gets to the Senate, to the floor of the Senate, he's probably not going to be removed from office.
Right.
But the American people have a right to hear all this. But the thing is this. What I've seen this past week, and it's really disturbing, is a lot of people just see the evidence, they hear the evidence, and it's like they've got their head in the sand, see no evil, hear no evil. I just don't want to know about it. They don't want the impeachment to go forward. They don't want him to be removed from office because they're just tired of everything. And it's really sad to see an apathetic country that just doesn't care about a president that's abusing his power, about a president that has obstructed Congress. These things are there. It's in black and white. It's plain to see. It's not imagined. It's very real, and nobody gives a damn.
Well, I'm not saying that there's not evidence there, but what I am saying is I don't think the Democrats really give a shit about the quid pro quo and all the other shit. I was watching this video the other day, and it was pointing out the fact that this has been something years in the making.
So what you're saying is that this started and I know you're arguing here that this started almost the moment he took office. They've been trying to find a reason to remove him from office.
Yes.
Well, yeah, okay. Even if that is so, the man's given everybody plenty of reason to have him removed from office. It's like we said earlier, if you look for something long enough, you'll find it. Yeah. Well, it's not really hard to find with Donald Trump. If they take his damn phone away from him and let him not tweet every damn – I mean, the tweeter-in-chief, he tweets 80 tweets a day, and he's his own worst enemy.
I agree with that.
He's always been his own worst enemy.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, I mean, the point is if – let's take Benghazi, for example. Hillary Clinton, Obama, their staff, they let an American ambassador and American service members get killed on foreign soil. Let it happen.
But do we know everything that went down there? Do we know, has everything been revealed? Has everything been laid out in the open? What went on? What the transmissions, the communiques, everything that happened. Do we know the full story of what happened at Benghazi?
Do we know that our government had knowledge of what was going on, that we could have done something? Absolutely. Yes. Do we know that Hillary Clinton lied to the family members about why their service members were killed? Yes.
Well, now, not in her defense, because I don't want to defend Hillary, but there's times when you cannot tell the families exactly what happened, for reason of security, for national security. You can't tell them what's going on. That said, I think it's bullshit that they didn't tell them what happened. And the reason they weren't told what happened is because it was pretty dishonorable the way it was handled.
Yes.
It was dishonorable that we left them there to die.
Yeah.
But we're heading down a rabbit trail now.
The point that I'm making is – Hillary Clinton, she played by the rules in Washington. And she got away with a bunch of shit.
Well,
Obama, he played by the rules in Washington. All of the presidents in the past leading up to Trump, they played by the rules in Washington, with the exception of Nixon.
Right.
You can't spy on your coworkers. You can't do it.
And we both said this before. If he'd have looked at the cameras and said, "You caught me, I did it," there would have been no big deal. But there was a cover-up, and we don't like it when you lie.
Yeah. Bill Clinton got his dick sucked in the Oval Office. Well, he's the most powerful man in the country. He should. And if Hillary's not going to do it, then by God.
And if you look at Monica and you look at Hillary, Monica looks a whole lot better than Hillary. So,
Yeah.
if I got to choose, I know which way I'm going. That said, he told a lie.
Yes, he did.
But what man, and we'll go down this rabbit trail for just a moment, what man that is married that, strays outside the bonds of holy matrimony and gets a little blow and go, what man
Is going to admit it?
Yeah, tell me. I want to meet this man. I want to kick him in the ass. I want to hit him. I want to go, what were you thinking? No man is going to do that.
No.
I mean, that's just not going to happen. Honey, did you get a blow and go from that cute little intern? Well, I know.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hillary.
I've never met that woman before. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hillary.
Exactly.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
You do that really too well. But no man's going to admit that. So, you're just expected to lie. But he did lie. Ken Starr caught him and got him. Still, nothing happened. He didn't get removed.
Because he played by the rules in Washington. Trump doesn't play by their rules on the Hill. He has his own set of rules. Granted, some of them are not the best rules. But on the flip side,
to say the least,
on the flip side of that coin, I've been saying for a long time we needed somebody in Washington that was not a career politician.
Well, he's definitely not a career politician. He's really not a good politician. I mean, if you want to know the truth. I mean, okay, look, if you took his phone away, if you took his Twitter account away from him and made him stick to a script and quit saying stupid shit.
Well, you see, now you're trying to make him play by their rules.
Well, there are certain things that you must do. It's the art of diplomacy. It's how the language of diplomacy. And hell, he doesn't speak the English language, let alone diplomatic language. I mean, some of the things that the president has said and done just make people scratch their heads and go, "Has anyone checked him lately?" I mean, do we really do we need a psychiatrist in here to talk to the man? His arrogance borderlines on psychosis. I mean, really, his attitude is, I can do whatever I want to do because I'm the president. And if I'm not the president, I'm still Donald Trump, and I'm rich, and I can do anything I want to.
I was about to say, I really don't think it's I'm the president, I can do whatever I want. It's
I'm Donald Trump.
I'm Donald Trump, fuck
right.
you.
Well, this week he's been handed several blows. It seems that we are going to the Supreme Court with regards to releasing his tax returns and financial records. And I have a strange feeling, and I could be wrong, but I have a very strange feeling that once it gets to the Supreme Court, they're going to say, yes, Mr. President, you have to turn over those records. And here's the thing. President Trump is just the type of narcissistic, sociopathic, egotistical, maniacal billionaire that he'll look at the Supreme Court and go, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." And then what happens? Then where do we go from there? The Supreme Court could hand down a ruling, but the Supreme Court, I mean, they can order this done, but it's like they used to say in law school, getting a judgment against somebody and getting that judgment enforced are two different things.
Yes.
Okay. So, the Supremes will say, yes, Mr. President, turn over the records. And he'll go, I'll get right on that, and do nothing. This is a man who has shown that he will defy everything and anything that happens.
Well, as far as the tax thing goes,
I could care less.
Yeah, here's my take on it. And I was having this discussion with my mother the other day, actually, about this. It would be the same. She's all about, he has to release his tax return. No, he doesn't. There's nothing in the Constitution. There's nothing that's written that says a president of the United States has to release his personal financial information.
You're absolutely right.
Well, if the people request it, he has to.
No, they don't.
No, he doesn't.
No.
Because
there is no legal basis for him having to release the records.
Yes, it is his personal tax information. Mm-hmm. It would be just the same as if John Doe from up the street came up here and knocked on your door and said, I don't like the way your house looks. Your house looks better than mine. You have to release your tax information to me.
Well, now here's the thing. Nobody, I could be wrong here, but as far as I've seen, nobody has alleged that there's actual financial impropriety. But that said, there's the fiasco with Trump University. Supposedly it was charitable. He was ordered this week, another one of the blows, not just the financial records, but he was ordered to pay I think somewhere, was it $2 million or $25 million or something? Ordered to pay millions.
Pennies to him.
Yeah, it's a bar tab to him. A lot of money to you and me. He was ordered to pay in restitution for violating the laws of charity and his own Trump University, which was shut down by the Attorney General of the state of New York. These are a couple of blows that was handed to him this week. On top of, yes, he's going to be impeached. And this is all snowballing. Two things are going to happen here. It's going to go one of two ways. Everything's going to catch up with him, and it's going to finally, be the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will. Mm-hmm. Or two, it's going to be so much that the American people are going to say, okay, this really is a witch hunt, and we're done here. Now, I know which way it should go, which way it should lean, but never underestimate the stupidity of the American voting electorate. I mean and I'm not saying that to be offensive, and if it is offensive,
fuck you.
I don't fucking care because this is the truth. I mean, it was said hundreds of years ago. You cannot basically, the danger of the unenlightened masses cannot. You just can't imagine how bad that can be. And by that I mean people who don't really know a lot about politics, people who don't understand politics, people who don't understand the issues of the day, but still can vote.
Yes.
And politics, if you don't work in politics, if you don't study politics, it can be confusing. It can be difficult. A lot of people just don't understand. And Trump appeals to a lot of people. If you ever hear his rallies or his speeches, they're not very eloquent. They're not real. They don't sound educated. I mean, he says some of the dumbest things I've ever heard in a rally, in a speech, in front of people, hundreds, tens of thousands of people. He says some of the stupidest things I've ever heard, and people love it because he's on their level. Mm-hmm. The people that and this is going to sound maybe effete, if you will, but the people that are drawn to Trump are people who don't understand politics, who are sick of politics, who want to shake something up. But here's the thing. If you don't know what you're shaking up, maybe you ought to leave it the hell alone.
I agree.
And what we're seeing right now is, Trump's getting the job done. What job is he getting done? What's getting done right now?
The economy's better.
Well, you know what? Here's another point. Yes, the economy is better. But the economy, it doesn't change overnight. Well, it can. The stock market can crash. But short of that, to affect meaningful change that benefits the American public, okay, the stockholders, your average person on the street, to effect a meaningful change takes years. So the policies that were enacted 5 years ago are now starting to come to fruition. This has been proven time and time again. You can ask any economist out there. That's how that works. It takes time. I'm going to say trickle-down economics because that's Reagan. But no, what it really is it takes a long time for the policies that are enacted by one administration to take hold, to take effect, and start changing things. So what we're seeing right now, and a lot of economists agree, are the policies of the Obama administration that have taken effect. Now, Trump, I will say this, Trump has done some things, several things. That
he has brought back a shit ton of jobs to this country.
He has indeed. And I'm not a Trump fan, but I will give credit where credit's due. He's done some things that I like. I've said that before on this show, that the president has done some things that I approve of, that I highly approve of. That said, he screwed up a lot of shit too. I mean, he really has. But what we're seeing, and everybody wants to give him credit for the strong economy, and he has partial credit for it. A lot of it also is the result of some policies from the Obama administration, even some from before President Obama. I mean, it takes a while for these things to take hold and take effect. Some things right away, some things not so much. And President Trump has effected some change in the economy, bringing back jobs. Mm-hmm. But by and large, there's not a lot getting done right now. And I think that's the problem. That's another problem. And we'll come right back to this, is that with all these blows that have been handed him this week, he's about to be impeached. The American public right now is starting to get pissed because they're getting this feeling that there's nothing getting done in Washington. The job of governing is not taking place right now. But it's just the opposite of that. This is exactly what governing is.
Yeah.
Because if we've got a problem here. And the problem is, and whether you're a Trump fan or whether you're a never Trumper, as he says, that's a unique term. If you're a never Trumper or a Trump fan, you've got to understand that on paper and in reality, the president has done these things of which he's accused. Now, whether he gets removed from office is a different story. It's like we said just a moment ago. Getting a judgment and getting it enforced is two different things.
Yep.
Being proven that he's guilty and getting removed from office, that's going to be difficult because what he's done, and this is one of the articles of impeachment, using the powers of his high office, he solicited the interference of a foreign government, the Ukraine, in the 2020 United States presidential election. That's open to interpretation. Some people see it as open to interpretation. Some people see it as open and shut case that he did it. And we've been over this before, the quid pro quo. They specifically did not mention quid pro quo in the articles of impeachment. Because it's like we said earlier, Joseph Goebbels once said, if you say something often enough, if you tell a lie often enough, people will start to believe it's true. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like Donald Trump is almost like channeling Star Wars. These are not the droids you're looking for. This is not the article you're looking for. There is no quid pro quo. There is no quid pro quo. If you keep saying that often enough, people start to believe there's no quid pro quo.
I mean, even an investigator from the DOJ came out after reviewing everything and released a report that said they found no evidence of quid pro quo.
An investigator from the DOJ?
Yes.
Okay. Who was the investigator? And, that's here we go. The FBI is supposed to be nonpartisan. The Department of Justice is supposed to be nonpartisan. But you go back and you look, and, okay, what we've got now is we've got some members of the Department of Justice that are pro-Trump and some that are not. The whole administration, the Trump administration, all of Department of Justice, the intelligence agencies, they are all divided. They're not supposed to be, but they're divided right now. Half of them want him out, half of them don't.
Okay, so this is an article from the Washington Times. It's dated September 25th, 2019. The Justice Department's Criminal Division has already investigated President Trump's conversation with the Ukrainian president about Joseph R. Biden and concluded Mr. Trump did not violate campaign finance laws. And a separate division of the department has also ruled that the administration did not break the law by failing to quickly share a whistleblower's complaint with Congress, saying the matter didn't meet the definition of urgent that would trigger the law.
Okay, and that is an opinion. That's an opinion. That's an opinion by somebody at the Department of Justice. Well, apparently there's some other people out there that disagree with that opinion.
Well, it goes on to say the department also released the transcript of Mr. Trump's conversation with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, showing the American leader did talk about Mr. Biden, the former vice president and current Democratic presidential frontrunner, and his son Hunter Biden. But Mr. Trump did not threaten to withhold military aid, as some have alleged.
Well, let's say that you come at me and you say, Donnie, I need to borrow $500. Okay, Daniel, not a problem. I'll loan you $500. But before I loan you $500, I got a question. Can you do such and such for me? I'd like you to look into checking out so-and-so over here for whatever, blah, 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 blah. And would you do that for me? Now, I haven't specifically said, before I give you money, I want you to do such and such. But you've just asked me for $500. And I've said, sure, not a problem. By the way, can you look at such and such for me? Now, are you really going to sit there and tell me that you don't feel like if you don't do what I ask, you're not going to get the $500?
Me personally, I mean, I can detect those subtle little quid pro quo hints. So me personally, if you came to me and we were talking first and foremost face to face,
right? And
you're doing, yeah, I can loan you $500. Hey, by the way, can you look into this for me? And then you give me the little wink, wink.
Exactly. Well, here's the wink, wink. Here we go. 400 million? 400 million or 4 billion? I forget. 4 billion, some astronomical amount of military aid to the Ukraine was on the table here. And he turns around and says, I think the Biden should be investigated. What do you can you look into this to me? Because corruption. Here's the thing. He's trying to make a case saying that he wanted to root out corruption. The ideal that Donald Trump wants to root out corruption, as someone put it earlier this week, is like Kim Jong-un wanting to be a human rights activist. Okay, that's about as plausible. I mean, here's a man who has cheated people, bilked people, who has cheated charities, and he wants to root out corruption. Like I said, that's about as plausible as Kim Jong-un wanting to take a stand for human rights. Now, in this conversation, they wanted military aid, and he wanted something done. That is its definition. That's a quid pro quo. And then afterwards, when he knew he was being recorded, when he knew the people were listening, when he knew what he had done, he went back and said, there is no quid pro quo. Why would you come back and say there is no quid pro quo? Why would you do that? Why would you specifically come back and use that term, use those words, and say that? Because there was a quid pro quo. Plain and simple.
Well, I mean, like I said, this whole thing, like I said to start all this off, and I'll even throw out what you said too. This is going back years, ever since Trump first came into office. Democrats didn't want him, so they have been digging and looking and digging and looking for anything.
And he gave it to them.
Well,
on a silver platter.
They, supposedly finally found something. Now, just like any other court proceeding, judicial hearing, anything like that, we have to wait until judgment has been passed. Mm-hmm. At this point right now, it's all still speculation. There's really, in my opinion, from everything that I've seen, there's no real smoking gun. So, like I said, this is all really just speculation at this point.
Well, the second article of impeachment is obstruction of Congress. He defied lawful subpoenas. He ordered people under his command to not answer the subpoenas, to not testify, which, there we go. There's no other way to look at that than obstructing Congress. Obstructing Congress, that's an impeachable offense. It is prima facie impeachable offense. He told Mick Mulvaney, he told Robert Blair, John Eisenberg, Michael Ellis, Preston Wells Griffin, all these people, McCormick, Ulrich, he told all of them, don't go over there, don't testify, don't give your testimony.
Well, now here's the thing about it. Do we have written, he sent emails or anything, or tweeted to these individuals, we have the smoking gun on him saying, don't do this, or is this all just conjecture? Well,
yes. I mean,
this is these individuals saying he told us not to.
We have proof that he told them not to go. Don't go. I mean, Rudy Giuliani said, the president doesn't want me to go. I'm not going to go. So, Giuliani, they wanted him to go. I'm not going to go. The president doesn't want me to go. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to testify.
So he said the president doesn't want me to go. He didn't say the president told me not to go. He just said the president doesn't want me to go.
Okay. Again, let's go back. Let's go back to our military. When a general says, "Hey, Sergeant Sanders, would you mind getting such and such for me?" When a general says, "Would you mind?" Is that an order or is that a request?
Technically, it's a request.
But a request from a general is what? An order. Thank you. The commander-in-chief of all armed forces, the president of the United States, says, I really don't want you to go over there and testify, Rudy. And you're going to go testify anyway? I don't think so. An order, a request from a general and an admiral is not a request. It's an order.
Looking at it from a legal standpoint, and you know this as well as I do.
I know.
Unless they have him on tape, mm-hmm. or they have it in writing that came from his computer or in his handwriting with his signature saying do not do this, then it's circumstantial.
Well, that's true. That's a fact. But I believe we're going to see that there is evidence that he told them that he intentionally obstructed, because why they wouldn't draw up an article of impeachment. Obstruction. I mean, they went over this with a fine-tooth comb to figure out what they wanted to impeach him for.
See, I'm really curious because I'm wondering if, since this is a congressional thing, I'm wondering if it's kind of like the UCMJ where they have all of these articles in the UCMJ.
And then there's Article 92.
That one catch-all.
It catches everything.
We don't have a fucking wait.
Anything
We're going to make
covered,
a catch-all article.
Anything not covered in the previous 91 articles is covered under 92. Yeah, I mean that's well, okay. We're talking about Congress of the United States, the largest body that gets absolutely not a fucking thing done on a regular basis.
Right.
Okay. And proof of this is after 14 hours of contentious debate, the members of the Judiciary Committee approved only one amendment, changing 2 instances of Trump's middle initial to his middle name. I mean, that's reminiscent.
Wait. I was wondering. Excuse me. I heard you talking about that earlier.
Yes. 14 hours.
And, I mean, no offense, I wasn't really listening to you when you were talking about it earlier, but now that I am, what the fuck?
Yeah, 14 hours, and the only thing that they amended was changing his middle initial from Donald J. Trump to Donald John Trump on the articles of impeachment. Yes.
I mean, yes, okay.
The United States Congress doing the most important.
We want to make sure we're getting Donald John Trump and not Donald James Trump.
Exactly.
Okay, I get that. But come on, 14 fucking hours?
That's Congress. That's the Judiciary Committee. That's how it works. And this goes right back to what we were saying earlier. This is what the American people are sick and tired of. That's one of the reasons why they wanted a non-politician up there. But you got to be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. Because we wanted somebody who wasn't, a normal politician, but we got somebody who's not a normal anything. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you can't deny that. Whether you're for him or against him, the guy's his own worst enemy. I mean, he's handed them everything on a silver platter, and now his lapdogs, Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell, they've shot themselves in the ass. Okay, they have gone on record as saying that they've already made up their mind. Everything I do during this, I'll be coordinating with the White House counsel, said Senator McConnell. No, okay, let me break this down for you. You've gotten chosen for jury duty, okay, and you made it past everything, and they're selecting you, okay? Out of like 150 people, they choose, 13, 12, and one alternate, all right? And you're one of the 12. And now the jury has been seated. Before opening arguments, before anything, any testimony, you stand up and go, well, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to find him not guilty. I'm just going to find this guy not guilty. And another juror says, I'm with you. I'm going to find him not guilty too. Before hearing any testimony, before hearing any debate, before hearing any opening statement, you've already said, you've just violated your oath as a juror because, you're supposed to be impartial. You're supposed to listen to all the evidence. You're supposed to deliberate only on the evidence.
Impartiality hasn't existed in Washington in I don't know how long.
This is true. But you don't come out and openly say it. You don't. I mean, and that may sound nefarious. It may sound Machiavellian. Call it what you will. You don't come out and look at a camera and go, "Oh, I'm going to find for President Trump. I'm going to do everything I can to subvert this whole proceeding," which is basically what McConnell and Graham have done. Graham has shredded. He has gotten rid of any iota of decency and dignity that he had. Mm-hmm. He's just nothing but a lapdog for Trump. I mean, a bootlicking lapdog. That's what Lindsey Graham is. He was once a respected senator. He's a joke. McConnell hasn't been. McConnell's been nothing but a turtle. He's been nothing but a joke for a long time now. Here's a man who stood in front of the cameras and said his one goal was to thwart everything President Barack Obama was going to do. His one goal was to keep all of his judicial appointments from getting seated, and he did. Then he turns around, and when the Democrats try and do the same thing to Trump, he says, "Oh, how terrible it is that you would try to do that." Wait just a damn minute. This is exactly the same thing you did. But now that they're trying to do it to you, you don't like it. I mean, he is a walking, talking figure of hypocrisy. And he's totally unapologetic about it. He's a hypocrite. He knows he's a hypocrite. He's a Trump lapdog, and he's proud of it. What I'm anxious to see is, and bear me out here, What if by some miracle of fate, the president does get removed from office? What's going to happen to all these sycophants, to all these little lapdogs, to these people who've been riding his coattails? Suddenly, they have no coattail to ride. What, is Mike Pence going to be their savior? I don't think so. He may have a messianic complex, but Mike Pence is not a savior.
They're going to do what politicians do and
flip-flop.
Yeah.
Waffle. Yeah.
Oh, well, we knew he was guilty all along, but we had to play the role.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, kiss my fucking ass. So, last thing we're going to talk about here, and this is very important. We need to talk about this, and I'm definitely going to go more in depth on this tomorrow.
We're going to
night.
Virginia, aren't we?
We're going to Virginia.
I knew it.
We're taking a trip on down to Virginia.
Oh, hell.
That's where the boogaloo's going to happen.
Virginia's for lovers, right? No, maybe not.
No.
Not this week.
Bring your stabby sticks and your yeet cannons, because it's time for a boogaloo.
Yeet cannons. Yeet.
Do not yeet until Yoda Pond.
Oh.
So, yeah, Virginia's taking some really big steps towards a revolution, my friend.
Are we talking about the next Civil War?
We are. I do believe so. Virginia, ever since the voting for the new Virginia legislation earlier this year, Virginia is now straight up just a blue state. They control both Virginia House and Senate, as well as a Democratic governor.
And as a Democrat, independent actually, a Democrat, independent-leaning Democrat or a Democratic-leaning independent, I don't know which one. I'm not really happy with the way things are happening in Virginia. I'm not really happy with the turn of events up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're passing all kinds of fucked up, just really strict gun control measures.
And see, and I've said before on this show, my idea of gun control is hitting a moving target from 200 yards. Okay, that's my idea of gun control, period. Yeah. Everybody should carry a gun. Yeah. I believe that. I really do. Everybody be a lot nicer. And what Virginia's doing right now is very dangerous.
Very. Because, they're trying to pass confiscation laws. They're trying to pass laws banning semi-automatic rifles, red flag laws, all kinds of stuff. And the city and county municipalities in Virginia, they're not having it. Local law enforcement is saying, fuck you, buddy. Y'all can have your sanctuary cities for your homeless people. We're going to have sanctuary counties for all of our Second Amendment gun lovers.
And we're having sheriffs that are saying we're going to issue permits for whoever the hell wants one. We're going to deputize everybody.
Yes, one of the county sheriffs actually said he would deputize his entire county. And I'm paraphrasing. That's not actually what he said word for word. But essentially, yes, he will deputize whoever he has to.
And here's the strange thing. There is no limit to how many people a sheriff can deputize.
That is true.
Most jurisdictions hold that. Now, I'm sure that there's maybe jurisdictions that is different. But in this particular instance, he can deputize as many people as he wants.
Yes.
Everybody in the entire county can be a deputy sheriff.
You could see a little 5-year-old running around with a .38 snub. Yeet, yeet.
But what's going on here is it's very disturbing. It's very dangerous. It's a slippery slope of slippery slopes.
Yes.
And if this continues on,
well, you see, the dangerous part is the Virginia government's response to these law enforcement officials saying that they will not enforce these unconstitutional laws is basically, you will enforce the laws. It is your duty as law enforcement officers to enforce the laws. That's what law enforcement is.
Correct.
However, if you decide not to enforce these laws, you will be asked to resign. If you refuse to resign, the governor can militarize the National Guard. That is how far they are willing to take this.
It's setting a very, very dangerous precedence. Now, and the governor can do that. The governor has the powers to do that. He controls the National Guard. And posse comitatus doesn't apply here because the Posse Comitatus Act doesn't prevent the Army National Guard or the Air National Guard under state authority from acting in a law enforcement capacity. If the governor wants to, all the governor's got to do is activate them under his command. And so it's sad to say that he could activate the National Guard to remove the sheriffs that are electing to deputize, the one that said, I'm going to deputize everybody in the county. he could have the National Guard remove him from office.
Yes. Just to roll off of what you said about that, here's a quote from Gary Solis, a military law professor at Georgetown University. He said, "Until nationalized, it's a creature of the state." So that's what leads me to believe that, yes, the governor can activate the National Guard to enforce even a state law.
He can. Absolutely. And, but it sets a really, really dangerous precedent.
Yes, it does.
Like I said earlier, it's the slippery slope of slippery slopes, because now you're enforcing what he's doing is he's activating the National Guard to enforce a state law, which basically subverts the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And on your show, 2AT, Second Amendment Talk, I'm sure you're going to get into that. But, I mean, that is the most disturbing aspect of this whole thing to me, that a governor could use that and actually subvert the Constitution.
Yes. So with that, it's just, like I said, the boogaloo's coming. Stabby sticks and yeet cannons. Get them ready.
Well, I'm anxious to I'm anxious to see how this plays out in Virginia and whether clearer heads will prevail. That being said, I think they're going way too far to the left here, and the ends don't justify the means here. I know that they want to get. I know the aims of gun control. The argument is that that guns kill people. Well, we both know guns don't kill people.
People kill people.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that. And if you start taking people's weapons away, it is a slippery slope. If we take just this weapon, next thing we'll take this one and this one, and then we're going to take this one, and then it's at what point do you say, okay, you can't take them anymore?
Yeah, and I was reading an article today where the state is kind of backing off the confiscation thing. Virginia, they're kind of backing off the confiscation thing, but they're still wanting to enforce a registration. Well, as well as I do,
when you buy
eventually
a gun,
registration leads to confiscation.
Absolutely, because why do you want to know who all has a gun? So that you can go take the gun away. I mean, that's the only thing. Otherwise, it's not anyone's business.
Yeah. I mean, in my home, I don't necessarily advertise that I have guns. On my car, I do. Well, don't fuck with me driving down the road.
Well, years ago, everybody who was for gun control and everybody who was against guns, and there was one of the coolest things that I ever saw that brought everything to a point is, okay, you don't agree with having a gun in your house and you don't want to have a gun in your house, then on your lawn put a sign up that says this home does not have any guns. And nobody wanted to do that. Why? Well, because we don't want a gun, but we don't want anyone to know that we don't have a gun.
Yeah.
Why not? Why? Be proud that you don't have any weapons in your home. Be proud that your home is unarmed. Be proud that you can't protect your family.
Yeah, if you're advertising that you have no guns, you're basically saying, come in and take my shit. You're welcome.
Exactly. Rape my wife, kill my kids, do whatever you want to me and take everything that I own because I have no way to defend myself.
Right. So we are running out of time. We're going to have to leave it with that. Like I said, I'm going to get into the. I'm going to get
place
into,
to leave it.
I will get into this more depth tomorrow night on my show, 2AT Second Amendment Talk. So be sure to tune in and listen to me and my co-host Rod talk about all this stuff. Again, big shout out to the troops, men and women deployed overseas and serving on the home front. We appreciate everything that y'all are doing for us. Keep up the good work. Come home safe. We're all rooting for you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. Everything.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. Did I leave out Hanukkah again?
Mele Kalikimaka.
Yeah. Feliz Navidad. Yeah. So enjoy your holidays. Be safe. Travel safe if you're traveling. Travel safe. Definitely the most important thing. I got nothing more. Donnie, you got anything?
That's it.
Excellent. Well, I've had a lot of fun with this. Thanks for tuning in to Armed Radio. This has been Two Beards Talking. I'm Daniel Sanders.
I'm DonnieJ.
Thanks for listening, everybody.